not have the tariffs affect our customers for as long as we can possibly manage it.
Ripple effects of President Trump's new tariffs are being felt across the West tonight. The White House seemingly unfazed by the Dow's worst day since 2020.
I think it's going very well. It was an operation, like when a patient gets operated on, and it's a big thing. I said this would exactly be the way it is.
Good evening. Welcome to West Coast Wrap. I'm Greg Lee. The president's new tariff strategy has triggered a sell-off in stock markets across the globe. Today, the Dow dropped nearly 4% with a loss of 1,679 points, a worse performance for the NASDAQ. It was down nearly 6% or 1,050 points. Also a bad day for the S&P 500. It dropped nearly 5%, down 274 points. Today, the managing director of the International Monetary Fund said President Trump's new tariffs, quote, clearly represent a significant risk to the global outlook. The president insists everything is going as he planned.
The markets are going to boom, the stock is going to boom, the country is going to boom, and the rest of the world wants to see, is there any way they can make a deal? They've taken advantage of us for many, many years. For many years, we've been at the wrong side of the ball, and I'll tell you what, I think it's going to be unbelievable.
White House critics say the president is setting up the country's economy for harder times.
I think it's heading us toward a catastrophic economic downturn, a recession, along with disastrously rising prices. I'm seeing already my constituents in Connecticut fearful, angry, deeply troubled by potential job losses, as well as higher prices for everything from gas to groceries.
Today's sell-off has many people worried about their 401ks and other investments. The CEO of Financial Life Planners says it's important to consider your risk tolerance and objectives before adjusting any investment strategy.
I would highly advise is avoid panic selling and buying. There are people out there, oh, the market's down, I'm going to rush in and start buying. And I'm just not so sure that buying on the dip, buying the dip in the market is going to work this time. I liken it to catching a falling knife, and you don't want to try to do that. You want to let it fall to the ground and then pick it back up.
Economists are warning consumers to expect price hikes on groceries, flowers, beauty products, cars, auto repairs, and much, much more. Fox 13's Lauren Donovan spoke with people in construction who say they're already changing the way they do business.
The big thing is we are pushing our clients to say, hey, you got to get us a contract. We got to order this stuff sooner rather than later. We're definitely not going to be able to hold numbers as long as we used to.
Kyle Fry has job sites throughout Puget Sound.
Mostly what we're doing is we're building industrial facilities, office buildings.
The owner of Northway Construction says since tariffs were announced, his bidding process with subcontractors and suppliers has seriously sped up. What once took a month to sign?
They're giving us 2 weeks now because they're worried about pricing increases, and they don't want to get caught with their pants down too.
Kyle tells me he's got a forklift, but no crystal ball. So he can't predict if prices will rise, but based on his experience so far this year,
I really feel like we've already seen the impacts. The reality is, because it's such a volatile industry, even the rumor of something like a tariff gets baked in the minute we hear it.
Kyle says 2 months ago, the price of lumber went up 10%.
Since then, it's actually fallen a little bit for some reason. I don't know what's driving that.
Noting before that, he saw steel jump 40% back in January.
Without even knowing if tariffs were even going to happen yet. I mean, Trump had barely gotten to office and we really hadn't even started talking about him, but he ran on it, so I think everybody assumed it was going to happen.
That said, Kyle will tell you he thinks rising costs for fuel, energy, and labor may play more of a role in lumber getting more expensive than a tariff ever could.
So lumber is a very volatile market. It goes up and down based upon, how much logging is happening, and the cost of fuel has a big impact on it because a lot of the timber's cut here, shipped across the border, and then milled, and then it comes back. So almost all of our lumber comes through Canada in one way or another.
That was Fox 13's Lauren Donovan reporting. To stay on top of the updates in President Trump's escalating trade war, head over to westcoastwrap.com. Our online coverage includes international reaction to his tariff strategy. Dozens of students rallied at UC Berkeley today against President Trump's attempts to dismantle the Department of Education. Students gathered at the university's Sproul Plaza to voice their dissent. The Trump administration says it wants to empower parents, states, and communities to improve their own education outcomes. But students say eliminating the federal department will threaten their ability to succeed.
It's an important part to have diverse learners on these campuses with more opinions, with more insight to different histories, to different experiences, lived experiences, and to different resources.
Students at Cal say they are also growing more concerned about attacks aimed specifically at diversity, equity, and inclusion programs and opportunities. Students at San Francisco State University also gathered for a demonstration against the Trump administration. They're calling for an end to legal threats and the deportation of students involved in pro-Palestinian speech and demonstrations. They also rallied in support of student activists, including Mahmoud Khalil, the Columbia University graduate student who was arrested by ICE last month as part of the administration's crackdown on college protests against the war in Gaza. Now to Oregon, where a protester was found guilty of criminal trespassing during a rally at Portland State University last May. Prosecutors say Daniela Monk entered a closed parking garage and blocked police cars by sitting in front of them. She was sentenced to 6 months probation and 16 hours of community service. At least a dozen people were arrested at that demonstration. One other person has also been found guilty of criminal trespassing. And in Southern California, the death toll from the Los Angeles wildfires has reached 30 people. This comes after the medical examiner's office confirmed human remains at a scorched property in Altadena from the Eaton fire. To identify the remains, the office will look at dental records and compare DNA. This discovery brings the Eaton fire death toll to 18. 12 people died in the Palisades fire. Investigators think 3 people accused of robbing an ATM in Arizona have ties to other robberies in California and Nevada. Fox 10's Lindsay Regis spoke with police about the unusual piece of evidence that led to these arrests.
In November of last year, a Bank of America in Tempe was robbed by 3 men, and several unique pieces of evidence link them to this crime. At 10 a.m. on November 5th, 2024, 2 men are seen on surveillance video robbing an ATM.
There were some ATM technicians out fixing one of the drive-through ATMs, and our suspects used that opportunity to approach the ATM. They asked the technicians to leave, and then that's when they stole cassettes out of the ATM.
Jessica Ells with Tempe Police say money is stored in cassettes that have GPS location data.
So officers were able to use that GPS location data, and within about an hour, were able to find out where the cassettes had been taken.
From there, Tempe Police found the rental car and cassettes left behind. Inside the car, a PS5 console and controller.
From there, they were able to gather account information from that PS5, and that account information is what led them to social media accounts linked to that. So the social media accounts that were associated is how we identified the suspects.
Police say dashcam footage recovered from the getaway car puts the suspects at the scene. They stole just under $280,000. In the
course of the investigation, it does appear that they are linked to other robberies in other states that all occurred in a very similar manner with approaching these ATMs and taking the cassettes.
Maurice Brooks, Michael Lazaro, and Anthony Smith were arrested by the FBI in Houston.
If you're going to ATMs, whether you're going into the bank or you're going to the ATM itself, whether through the drive-through or the walk-up, just always be aware of your surroundings. Be aware if anyone might be following you home or following you to your car. It's always important just to be aware that that situation could happen.
So far, 2 suspects have been extradited back to Arizona, and 1 suspect is awaiting extradition on federal charges. Reporting in Tempe, Lindsay Regis, Fox 10 News.
A heavy lift for thieves in Central California coming up. See how they got away with a 700-pound safe. And Elon Musk's SpaceX has new competition in the West. Why Seattle-based Amazon thinks you'll want to tap into its new satellites.
How about a treat? We take you to San Francisco, looking out towards a beautiful span of the Golden Gate Bridge, home with the San Francisco Giants playing host to another West Coast city, the Seattle Mariners. Game time, temperature 63 degrees. We'll have your complete West Coast wrap forecast. It's all coming up right after this.
Newly released security camera video shows how thieves pulled off a brazen smash and grab burglary in Central California. This happened Friday in Chowchilla, northwest of Fresno. The video shows a pickup truck crashing through the entry of a business. Then 3 people load a 700-pound safe into the truck's bed and take off. License plate reading technology and other cameras in the area helped investigators track down 2 of the suspects. They've been booked with burglary and conspiracy to commit a felony. The 3rd suspect remains at large. Dozens of people have been picked up by ICE agents in one place in the West. Images posted to social media show how ICE agents surrounded Mount Baker Roofing Company in Bellingham, Washington yesterday. They took 37 workers into custody. They say they were investigating fraudulent employment practices. The roofing company has not commented on the investigation. The employees who were arrested are being held at a detention center in Tacoma. A federal judge suggested there was a fair likelihood that the Trump administration violated a court order when it deported hundreds of migrants to El Salvador last month. Federal Judge James Boasberg suggested possible contempt charges as he pressed Department of Justice attorneys for answers over whether the administration defied a court order temporarily blocking the deportations. Today's hearing came as the administration faces scrutiny over its immigration tactics. Last week, it admitted to wrongly deporting a Maryland man with protected legal status. Attorneys for Kilmar Abrego Garcia deny he has any gang ties and accuse the administration of ignoring due process.
The government can make a mistake, and as long as they do it quickly enough, you have no recourse whatsoever. That's something that we should all be very scared about.
In 2019, an immigration judge denied Abrego Garcia's request for asylum, but granted him protection from being sent back to El Salvador, where he was likely to face persecution by local gangs. A new report shows a 672% increase in government job cuts since the first quarter of last year. The report from the recruitment firm Challenger Gray and Christmas shows in March alone, more than 280,000 government workers were let go, the 3rd highest monthly total ever recorded. The report also shows more than 4,000 losses in the private sector as a result of DOGE cutting federal aid or ending contracts.
Not a business-friendly environment. You know, if they want to make America great again, then honor your word.
Elon Musk's days at DOGE might be numbered. The president is reportedly considering distancing himself from Musk, and the White House says after his 130-day period as a special government employee comes to an end, Musk will likely transition back to running his businesses. West Coast storms have airlines running behind schedule tonight. This is a look at some of the snow and fog that hit Denver this afternoon. More than 700 flights in and out of Denver International Airport have been delayed today. More than a dozen have been canceled. Let's bring in KTVU meteorologist Roberta Gonzalez, who's tracking storms and a warm-up on the way in parts of the West. Roberta?
Yeah, hi there, Greg. That was so interesting what you just shared with us, because all that precipitation over the Colorado area was the same thing experienced in the San Francisco Bay Area, most notably the Tahoe area, with copious amounts of snowfall yesterday. Now, as the system worked its way into Colorado, the humidity was already high. The precipitation began to fall, the temperature cooled, and then the fog did form. That was around the core, the center of that area of low pressure. Now watch that precipitation lift out of the area, but the front extended all the way to Arizona, where in Prescott, I just saw some video where 2 inches of snow has accumulated there. Elevation 5,300 feet, only 99 miles away from Phoenix, where it was glorious today at 70 degrees, but that cooler air mass working its way in behind that front dropped that temperature. Average high is 83 degrees. Now, meanwhile, we take it to Seattle. More beautiful clouds there. Average highs 57 and pretty spot on today. Good looking day at SeaTac. Meanwhile, in San Francisco, 60, the average high 63 degrees. There was a combination of some sun and clouds, a real nice mix. And then in the Los Angeles area, below the average of 61 degrees, but a good looking day with wall-to-wall sunshine. Currently in the mid-50s in the city by the bay, 48 degrees in Reno. How about 58 in Vegas? It's still in the 50s in the Los Angeles area, and Phoenix has dropped to 66 degrees. Now, here's the deal. This is big. It's beautiful. It's an area of low pressure out over the eastern Pacific. It plans on disturbing the Pacific Northwest weekend. It will, but not till towards the tail end. And the brunt of that system will take most of its energy well into the northern portion of the U.S., into Vancouver as well. But meanwhile, as you're looking at the Bay Area here, it looks like it's going to be on the clear side. Same thing around the Los Angeles area until these clouds begin to encroach the coastline, increasing cloud cover, especially by Saturday night into Sunday. A slight chance of rain showers Sunday night into the Bay Area, most likely to the north around that northwestern quadrant of the state of California, with light rain arriving by that morning commute in the San Francisco Bay Area by Monday morning. But meanwhile, let's go ahead and put this forecast in writing for you here. It looks pretty good, pretty decent, with a warm up from Seattle to the Bay Area to Los Angeles until Sunday when that front arrives. Denver 60 by Sunday. We're talking low 80s again in the Phoenix area, and that's where you should be for this time of the year. The Mariners from Seattle heading to San Francisco for the Giants home opener on Friday afternoon by that seventh inning stretch. 66 degrees. You know what, Greg? You can't ask for better weather in the Bay Area for a home opener. It's going to be spectacular.
Yeah, perfect baseball conditions, Roberta. Thank you. A new danger spawning from the LA wildfires. Hundreds of pools at the homes destroyed in the fires now abandoned and breeding grounds for mosquitoes. Experts say there are over 2,700 pools turning green and soupish, perfect for mosquitoes and the dangers they bring.
We see West Nile virus every year. It is endemic, but we're also worried about dengue. So the past 2 years, we've experienced local transmission of dengue.
Vector Control is working to get larvicide in the pools to kill the larvae before they turn into mosquitoes. Experts say each pool could be the source of 3 million mosquitoes in just 1 month. The FBI is launching a new effort to investigate violent crimes in Native American communities, including in Arizona. Fox's Ashley Rodriguez explains how the operation is unfolding in Phoenix.
U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi says that the crime rate in Native American communities is unacceptably high. Her hope is that the FBI can surge its resources and work with tribal law enforcement so that the Justice Department can deliver the accountability these communities deserve.
For years, we have been murdered. We've been thrown in the landfills. We've been thrown in the desert. We can no longer have that.
The FBI seems to be listening to cries from Native American communities to do something about the hundreds of missing and murdered Indigenous people, which are especially loud after the tragic and insidious murder of 14-year-old Emily Pike, whose body was butchered, found cut up in multiple bags off US 60.
Make sure that we get the justice that we need, not just for her, but everybody out there that's missing or murdered.
The federal agency announced Operation Not Forgotten is coming to Phoenix, as well as 10 other cities, sending extra agents to investigate some of the most violent, unsolved crimes against natives.
We have been going back through the case file, looking at the physical evidence.
60 agents will be tasked with working with the Bureau of Indian Affairs and tribal law enforcement to generate new leads and bolster cases, a daunting task that local agencies are overwhelmed by. This year alone, the FBI reports 4,300 open investigations in Indian country, including 900 unsolved murders.
These could be repeat offenders that know what they're doing and continue to do this and target our women, target our children.
Last year, Operation Not Forgotten got results, working on 300 cases, making more than 40 arrests, and identifying or recovering 9 child victims. The hope is the surge of FBI agents in Phoenix will be a deterrent to bad actors and the resource that could outfind Emily's killer.
When you see that and how horrible she was taken, and if it takes a village of so many people, not just our Native people, but other people as well, to give her a voice and not let this happen again, then we need to continue to do that.
When the FBI conducted Operation Not Forgotten last year in different cities, they only used about 50 agents. This time around, they're upping that to 60. Now, this is all good news, but advocates say this is an essential investment that should be made permanent. In Phoenix, Ashley Rodriguez, Fox 10 News.
Coming up, Amazon launching itself into the internet satellite industry. When the new project will take flight, and one lucky dog is on the mend in Colorado tonight. How the pet managed to fall down a 100-foot canyon.
1, ignition, and liftoff of the Falcon 9. Go SpaceX, go Starlink.
SpaceX launched another rocket tonight from Vandenberg Space Force Base in California. The Falcon 9 rocket is bringing another batch of 27 Starlink V2 mini satellites into low Earth orbit. It's possible residents in Santa Barbara, San Luis Obispo, and Ventura counties heard one or more sonic booms during the launch. Seattle-based Amazon plans to launch more than 24 satellites into space next week. Images posted online show prep work for Wednesday's launch from Cape Canaveral, Florida. Amazon says its Project Kuiper launch will eventually bring internet service to customers across the globe. Many industry analysts expect the system will rival Elon Musk's Starlink network. Amazon expects to make its internet service available to customers later this year. Amazon's push to buy TikTok could lead to big changes for online shoppers. Fox's Richard Giacovis explains TikTok's deadline to find a buyer or shut down in the U.S. is fast approaching.
It's another looming deadline for TikTok. Just months after President Trump gave the social media app a reprieve from being banned in the U.S. over national security concerns, its 75-day extension is almost up. Now, with the shutdown looming once again, a potential new buyer has emerged.
I think Amazon is 100% serious. I think Amazon sees this as maybe the only amazing add to what they currently have.
Yes, Amazon, the e-commerce company, reportedly submitted a bid to the White House to purchase TikTok from its Chinese-based company, ByteDance.
Both TikTok and Amazon have huge New York offices. They both have thousands of employees here. And it just goes to, I think, show a lot about the strength of the New York tech ecosystem.
Tech experts say this makes sense for Amazon despite the April 5th deadline because Amazon tried its hand at a now shuttered short-form video service following the success of TikTok. Last summer, the two companies formed a partnership that allowed TikTok users to link their accounts with Amazon so you can make purchases to items being sold without ever leaving the app.
But when it comes to content creators, they are using, for the most part, the TikTok shop. If someone wants to talk about Amazon, you can link out to them, but it's not as seamless in terms of the shopping experience. So I think if Amazon won, it would be a seismic impact in terms of social shopping.
Having TikTok could be the final stone in their monument.
That was Fox's Richard Giacovis reporting the president could extend the deadline for TikTok to find a buyer beyond Saturday. Other companies with reported interest in acquiring the social media platform include Oracle and Blackstone. In Colorado, a dog is recovering tonight after falling 100 feet into a canyon. It happened at the Colorado National Monument yesterday. Authorities say the dog and her owner were visiting the area when the excited dog leaped out of the vehicle and dashed towards a steep ledge where she fell more than 100 feet. Search and rescue teams were called and were able to bring that pet to safety. Despite her long fall, the dog only suffered minor scrapes. That's a lucky dog. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. Hope you have a great one. We leave you with this beautiful pic from the Bay Area. Good night, everybody.